Hello, everyone, and welcome to another fun-filled episode. Well, actually, we're going to the mines. We're going to be putting together the mill truck for Casey from Jackstands and Cinder blocks. Longtime fans of the channel may remember that we did another square body, about a year ago, and that square body, well, it was on tracks. I'll see if I can figure out how to link the video for that, but in the meantime, let's get started on this one. Now, like the other one, I had planned on taking two cabs and joining them together. I even got so far as actually putting the body filler between the two. And then it occurred to me, why? You see, since the 60s, at least I think it was the 60s, Chevrolet has been putting together an SUV version of this called the Suburban. I think my fan base just enjoys seeing me struggle. So you are going to see me start using the two-body method, but I switched to the Suburban later. Let's get on to Tinkercad and do that bed up right. And now, the moment I've been waiting almost 2 weeks for. Would you look at that? It's a Suburban. All I've got to do to get an accurate cab is cut it right about there. To be honest, I probably should have thought of that before I did anything else. Well, let's get to it. I don't actually recall if this is an M2 or green light, but man, these details are amazing. Once I get the body cleared of all of its accessories, like the glass and the grille, the bumpers, I'll cut it right behind the rear door and then I'll throw it in the goo. Trying to keep this glass together for reassembly later is a lot more difficult than it looks. And of course, it wouldn't be a functional histories build if I didn't have a bunch of trouble with the grill. I don't feel like making you suffer through any more of the disassembly. Let's move on to the cut. Accurate 1/64 scale fans, you should probably look away now. Well, that went way faster than I thought it would. Of course, I'm going to have to soften up the edges of the cut a little bit before I put it into the goo, but that's pretty good. Now, before I put it into the goo, I want to put it back on the frame so that I can see where I need to make the cut on the frame so that the frame will sit under the body of the truck. Looks like I'm going to have to cut right in front of the wheel wells to remove the back half. That, in turn, means that I need to cut this chunk out of the interior as well. It also just occurred to me that the mill truck has a smooth roof and doesn't have this luggage rack thing on top. I'm telling you folks, this paddle wheel is damned handy. Just look at how smooth that roof is now. Yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with that. Let's get it into the goo. And of course, once the goo's had time to do its thing, I'll get it cleaned off and then polished up. Somehow and some way, I'm going to have to create a back for the cab. It'd be some damn cold and dirty days on the mill without that. That's easy enough. Another Tinkercad session should take care of it. Well, there we are. I'll get this off to the printer and get it installed. Now, since the printer doesn't do soft edges very well, I'm going to install it and then I'm going to grind it down a little bit. It should make it a little more accurate. Besides, most of this work is going to be hidden by the headache rack anyway. After a couple of sessions of sanding down and softening the edges a little bit, you can see that it's better, but it's not perfect. I'll do a little more tinkering on it before I put it into primer. And once the primer is applied, I'll put it into goldenrod yellow. I figure it's about time to start working on that frame. As a comparative study though, check out how the old cab design matches up to the new. You see, this is sort of the thing that I'm talking about when I say that we're improving our processes. I'd probably still be shaping the other cab. And this one's generally done. I'll have to cut the frame right here. And of course the frame is way longer on the mill truck. All right, I've wasted enough time. Let's get to chopping. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to handle any suspension or drivetrain on the bed, but we'll burn that bridge when we come to it. Once the frame's chopped, I'm going to put the cab back onto the frame and test fit it. I realize that I've sped the footage up a little bit, but it's actually getting hung up on the sides. I'll trim those down just a little bit and voila, it fits. The first print of the bed is back from the printer and wow, that looks pretty good. While the second one prints, I'm going to move on to the decals. I'm not sure why Casey decided to keep the CashApp logos on the door, but it's still very cool and it's a piece of the truck's history, so they're going to be there. With all the other work that Casey has done to this truck, I'm sure that he's going to put some matching fenders and a door on it, but for now, it does not have those things. One door and both of the front fenders are different, so I'm channeling my inner Foggy. I'll tell you, these disposable little hobby brushes are fantastic for this. Admire my amazing camera work. Admire it. Okie doke. So the second print is back. Let's see how it looks. It's definitely better, but there might be some more tweaking required. I have to make sure that the gap between the end of the frame and the end of the body is covered. And I have to make sure that there's enough room for the headache rack once I install the bed. I think I've got it. It'd be about 2 millimeters, so let's get on to putting this thing together. I'll clamp this so that it holds together overnight, and then I'll move on to the rest of the paint. I may have to have Foggy come in and do some touch-ups on this anyway. And 14 hours later, this is how the frame looks. Yeah, that doesn't look terrible. Matter of fact, I'd say that looks pretty good. I figure it's about time to start throwing this thing back together now. You'll see that the interior gives me a couple of fits, but I do eventually get it. This is also the section where we started let's call it creative liberty. Casey's doing a lot of work to this truck, and, well, the interior kind of sucks. It's lived a lot of life in its 40 years, so I'm just going to give it a new interior. I know that sounds kind of lazy given that it's black, but I love black. Also, later on, you'll see that I put the front bumper on. At the time of this video, Casey's truck does not have a front bumper. I can hear you asking in your heads, "Hey Vic, how are you going to take care of that headache rack in 1/64 scale?" Well, this. Your regular household wire screen works so well for all sorts of things. In the drag race diorama that I use in most of my videos, you'll see that that screen is actually the chain link fence. If you paint it black, it looks pretty good for diamond cut. I'll finish trimming this up and painting it and then assembly, but that's us done now. On to the glamour shots.